Good morning. It's Monday morning. Welcome to January the 22nd, 2024. I'm going to shift gears a little bit this morning. You know, when I first started this project, if you will, I didn't really know where it was going to go to. And for the longest time, it was just me trying to develop a particular presentation, if you will, trying to pull a few very specific ideas into the same space and demonstrate how they are connected to one another, and how that our understanding of them and their connection to each other and truth and all that blah 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 can bring us to a place where we are more peaceful, more harmonious beings upon this planet. Free us from fossil fuels and free us from the yokes and chains of the misunderstandings of our nature, which have led to the kinds of systematic structures of societal structures, if you will. The way we have lined up our judicial system, for instance, and our systems of punishment and our it's just all of it, our laws and our rules and our schools and our institutions of health and blah, blah, blah. All of the things that we have done have been based on a kind of understanding of who we are that was, quite frankly, mistaken. And now we are where we are. And hold on one second. But as it turns out, new development in the situation is that I may have some regular listeners. Before it was just me. It was just me here in the dark working it out, trying to put the presentation together so it glided easily from my tongue, tripped easily from my tongue, and that the different disparate subjects danced well with one another. I could move in and out, and show the connections between law of attraction, our understanding of ourselves personally as source energy, and then collectively what it meant to us as a single morphogenetic field, if you will, a single humanity, a one being, that we are all cells within that. And then, of course, it goes up farther up the line, too. I believe that humanity itself is, you could think of it as a cell in the body of the universe. Maybe not even go, maybe it's a cell in the body of the solar system. No, never mind. I'm not going to trip down dark trails. The fact is, though, because we do have some regular customers, some regular listeners, I don't want to just keep repeating the same thing over and over. I want to get to a place where we kind of assume that everyone in the room is generally up to speed with the topic, and we can just start riffing about things. We can now. I want to warn, it's a disclaimer, or maybe it's one of those warnings before you get on the ride, at Disney World. It's something like that. We're just going to warn everybody that there's no resistance in this room. We're not coming at anything from any sort of specific practical. I don't want anybody to come back at me from a position of accusing me of advising anybody to do any specific thing, because I'm not. I have nothing to say about anyone else's actions, period. Well, actually, it's not quite a period. I do have something to say about other people's actions, but I do not presume to know what anyone else specifically ought to do from their position. Neither would I ever want to. Everyone needs to man their own machinery, and I do not want to tell anyone else what to do. I didn't even want to tell my children what to do, which actually that might have been going a little too far. I sort of have an absolute nature about me that's can be problematic. I know that I did have one daughter that really wanted me to tell them, give them a clue. But I don't want to tell anybody else what to do. And so my advice only has to do with some, before you do anything, things that you may think about doing, such as get into alignment. Get into alignment with your own inner being, with your own true vibrational nature, that part of you that is grounded in reality and reading reality and knowing all things, knowing how good you are, knowing how good we all are, knowing how important is this little exercise that mankind is performing on planet Earth. And in our episode today, we may go around to the slides that everybody who, my regular listeners, have become familiar with, the slides that I pull up, talking about, both the nature of our mind and the nature of our emotions. I may or may, and the cymatics thing, I pull that one in. Then I pull in Nassim Haramein's paper showing the mathematics of the relationship between the small and the large and how it really has been done. And I believe very strongly that this mathematics is going to lead us to the technologies that will bring our transportation systems off the surface of the planet. That is really important. It's one of the reasons why I don't actually want the Democrats and the Republicans to get along in the paradigm that we are all framed in right now. Because if they passed a $10 trillion infrastructure package, which would be a great thing, the problem is that the infrastructure that they would build is 20th and even 19th century infrastructures that we don't want. We need to move on, people. We need to understand how to harmonize with the field around us and how important it is, and a greater understanding of the consequences of when we don't. When we don't, basically, we throw the system out of balance, out of alignment, you could say. But the biggest consequence is that it creates a polarity in the field, which creates a storm of chaos that you don't want. You actually want the order to unfold. You don't want the storms of chaos to erupt. You don't want the Shiva energy to rise in the field, to have other human beings pick it up in the form of a club or a gun or a bomb or something that pulls the structure down. We can't get around the reality of things, people. That which is not sustainable is not going to sustain, no matter how sneaky we try to be about it. No matter how much we want it, no matter how much we adamantly want it, if we're not looking at reality the way reality really is, then we're out of alignment in some way, because our inner being actually knows what reality really is. It knows exactly how everything is shaped. It knows how all of the forces are working. It knows what the dark energy is. By the way, I just want to say this. I want to go on the record as saying this, although somebody may think I'm ridiculous. At this point, I think I will be borne out, and it's not really my idea even, that there is no such thing as dark energy, actually. It's just that's the gap in the mathematics from the current conventional understanding to the new unified understanding of the mathematics of the physics. The fact is when you do the math correctly and you think of it all in terms of scales, it turns out that when you do the math, there isn't any dark energy. There isn't any unaccounted for energy. That's what the dark energy was. It's the dark mass and the dark matter and the dark energy is actually a gap in the mathematical understanding of the forces of the universe as they lay. And if you I believe, now I'm not the mathematician or the physicist, but I believe that when you go through all of their math, it will show you how that works. How truly, how matter is coming into being. And actually, there's a direct relation to consciousness. And I believe that added to the understanding of the incremental, the way evolution unfolds incrementally, at the heart of it is desire. All the beings are desiring what they are desiring. And as they are desiring, source energy organizes, and it can organize all of us, each according to our nature, each according to our desire, but only if we are truly in touch with our true desires and in touch with them, in alignment between our two beings, with our analytical mind in the proper place, not trying to lead the way, but sitting back and understanding what it's seeing, as the energies play out. And who am I? And how do we get our butts from where we are right now, the pickle of a situation that we find ourselves in right now, how do we kind of guide our steps so that at least we are moving towards the happily ever after that I think mankind can find on planet Earth when he understands himself more fully and understands the scene that he is witnessing as he looks around him at this beautiful, 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 perfect biological field, this morphogenetic field that can be anything that all of us want it to be. You just have to be truly in touch with your aligned desires. Now, we all have desires, and some of them are quite out of alignment. If what you want is, you want a fleet of Learjets, Lamborghinis, and mansions. I know mansions don't exactly come in fleets. And you want to be king of the world, okay, you can want what you want, but that's probably fairly out of alignment interpretation of your desires. What you're really feeling is an enormous power and vision about how you want to be in control of your own life and your own space. And that, my friend, is completely fair. And so as you look at all the misbehaving folks across the planet, I'm going to be kind, those rascally rascals, like Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin and, whatever. I don't want to put Trump into the... that's going to bog my energy down. Never mind. When you look at these rascally rascals, what you're actually seeing is everyone is right. Everyone is right in some profound way. Now, if you're witnessing suffering and murder, rape, subjugation, authoritarian psychosis, the things that we do witness, as they are occurring on planet Earth. I don't want to be just a positive Polly, one of those people that does not recognize that there are problems on planet Earth. I actually think that our inner beings are very slowly unraveling them, as they will. But I'd like to move it along a little bit faster because I don't want the wave of chaos to hit me, really. I want to stay in a pocket of relative peace while I observe the phenomenon unfolding around me. I do not want full-on authoritarian psychosis to hit my country. I really don't want that. Nobody really wants that. But I believe that the reason that it happens is because we don't understand who we are. And that the ultimately, the way to get past it is to understand these forces within ourselves. And I believe that our future is very, 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 very bright indeed. Oh my gosh, can you imagine the genius and the magnitude of human possibility, the kinds of things that human beings do. We're so funny. We're so funny. We're a scream. We are so clever, so talented, so beautiful, so graceful. Watch America's Got Talent, all the versions of it. Just like blip in there and just get a load of what some people are doing. It's amazing. It's magnificent. Don't then immediately, go into a place where you see something too specifically, and then you start looking at, oh yeah, but look at the dark side of this. Look at the dark side. Look at how life, look at how these people had to get that way, because their country is so dark, and in order to rise to anything, they had to, whatever causes us to focus, and quite frankly, stepping back a few steps and seeing the greater picture for a bigger meaning of what it is really does help soothe. If you happen to find your butt in a crack somewhere, it is soothing to step back a bit, go to the general, and look at life in general. Pivot to the positive, but don't be naive. We are awful. We are absolutely awful. But we are so amazing. And I would like to get humanity to the place that I think we can be. You might call me a visionary, or you might call me a quackpot. But I believe that the answer, and we'll see how long it takes us to get there. I mean, this is not what we've got. You will have to admit that. But I think that the potential in the field is that each and every individual can go into their own hearts and into their own analytical minds, which is lined up with who they really are, so you have an understanding that there is a broader perspective that is in play along with your mind. So it kind of keeps you from going down those really dark rat holes, when you really believe your negative mind. Don't really believe your negative mind. It has a purpose. If you wander into the negative, think of it as rumble strips, just sort of going, hey, you're getting off course here. You're going to head into some resistance here, and your fast machine is going to bang into a tree or something if you don't get your thing back on the road. Not a problem. You want those rumble strips. There's nothing wrong with your negative emotion. Absolutely vital. And when you see beings who have fallen into deep, 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 deep states of negative emotion based upon the reality of what's going on in their life around them, well, you can understand it. We can all understand how the Holocaust gets underway. But we can also get out ahead of it as we understand what this phenomenon actually is. It is sort of like the goddess of destruction coming forth to tear down the things that we built that were out of alignment. And who does she use as her hands to knock it down? Ourselves, each other, your fellow human beings. And the answer to this situation is not to vilify the individual who picked up the instrument of destruction and knocked something down. Because honestly, we all want the same thing. We really do. We all want freedom. We all want systems that work smoothly. We all want a planet that is thriving and growing and abundant, not dwindling and dying and suffering the way too much of our planet is. Now, it is true. You can gaze in many directions that are blessed and beautiful and wonderful. And I would suggest you do that on a regular basis, because you have to understand that the foundation of all of this is absolute ultimate well-being, and that we are abiding in a system that potentially can support all 8 billion of us, all 10 billion of us, potentially all 20 billion of us. But we better be walking in alignment with our source if we are going to try to support even 10 billion people on this planet without a third world war or something raining down upon our ears, which we certainly do not want to do. I think we all want to get on with what we're really about. And I'm going to put forth this in my as a packaged in there with my thesis too. What I believe that we are really all about is play. It's play. We do our best work when we are playing. We do our best work when we are happy, when we are doing things just for fun. When we do things just for fun, we create the kinds of things that we need to do to combat our own nature. So I have a little illustration of that point. 100 years ago, we were enmeshed. Actually, 100 years ago would have been 2024. Hitler was just starting to make himself known. I think had the beer hall something or other. There was some sort of kerfuffle, and he perhaps was in jail by now. He was on the scene, but he certainly had no power at this point. He had not come to power. I believe he comes to power in 1933. But the unrest in the land was there. The problem in the field was forming and coalescing, if you will. A lot of people were displaced. It was hard they weren't happy. You didn't have there was lots of people who lived marginally. Was that the time when their inflation got so bad that you had to take a wheelbarrow full of food, bills to pay for a loaf of bread or something? The people weren't happy, and they were blaming it on outsiders. They were blaming it on Jews seemed to be doing very well, so they had all the stuff, so it must be their fault. Actually, often the group who is not doing well because they are totally not understanding the energetic vibrational rules of the world. Follow your heart, not your head. That's the first rule. And when your group's system that we are all following is all head-based and heart disallowing, well, that's a formula for disaster as things go on. As a matter of fact, that is a formula for disaster. But back on my thesis statement about fun being our best work. So picture the time. It's World War I, World War II. World War II has just passed. I postulate that the reason that we had our world wars is because of the way our consciousness was forming collectively and how few ways that you had to communicate. And so when we all got frightened and angry collectively across the whole planet, not just across a region, and now you can communicate quickly too. You've got telegraph, telephone, the beginnings of radio. Now you've got radio. You're communicating with the people, the general population, through newspapers. Everybody is kind of focused on the same collective stories. When we communicate with each other across the planet, there's only a couple of ways to do it. And so what's being said across the newspapers and how it manages to coalesce the fears and angers of us. And in our ignorance, we focused on what we believed was an enemy, each to our own side, focused on the enemy, and acted in our fear and anger, and that actually equaled the world wars. Now, ever since then, what have we been doing? And it was like alongside of it too. I mean, it's a steady evolution of us. It's not, oh my God, this happened, and so now we've got to get busy with our entertainment creation. But that's what was happening at the same time, and why did we do it? We did it for fun. Why did we start creating movies? Because they're fun. Because we like to watch them. Because it's, and that's what the whole movie industry was about. And most of the things that we have created, all of our entertainments, have been because it's fun to do this. Now, you may focus on the aspect of the people creating the fun thing and how they might be trying to manipulate the people who are watching, whatever. But in this century, since we had those world wars, how has our ability to focus our attention proliferated? Wow. It's hard to get a million of us looking. Well, you can get lots of million of us looking in the same direction at the same time, but it's much harder to get tens of millions of us looking in the same direction at the same time. And yet back in the 50s, we had 60 million people at the same time watching Lucy tell Ricky that she was pregnant. I think there were 60 million people watching that episode. I know there were 60 million people watching some of those I Love Lucy episodes. And now, you're an internet sensation if you've got, a million people watching you. It's the time of, right now we have more celebrities that more people have never heard of. It used to be all the celebrities everyone had heard of because we were one being. We were one. Our conventional mind was one. Now, our source energy mind amongst ourselves still is one. But now we realize how many we are. And in our diversity is a tremendous amount of strength. We actually do not want lockstep and groupthink, people. We want amazing, amazing, proliferated diversity. It is the way out of the wilderness. And I kind of have faith that World War III will not happen, but consciousness needs to rise a little farther. We need to understand that even if we start to feel personally threatened by things, the answer is still not go drop a bomb. You don't get out ahead of it by going out and dropping a bomb on somebody. That's not the way to get out ahead of it. That's the way to, oh my God, there is nothing left to do except, I still don't think that's the answer. Still don't think we should ever drop a bomb on anybody. That's not the answer. It's just not the answer. We do not, there is no villain. There is only us here. And so I would suggest a different way to address this. You know how people do the, what would Jesus do? That little mind exercise. I got a different one. It's WWKCD. What would Kwai Chang Caine do? Kwai Chang Caine, from the old show Kung Fu. And the reason I say that is he had a kind of a way about him, the whole idea of him was, and you may have thought the show was whatever you might have thought the show was, but there's a spirit here that I want to illustrate, that it does illustrate this spirit, and this is the spirit that we need to encompass, if we may, because truly there is only us here. And so you really don't want to be getting carried away with the destruction of your fellow human being, because we are all the body of humanity, and your neighbor is your unknown self made visible. And when you don't understand the energies and don't understand yourself and believe that there is a villain and go into an us versus them mentality, you create the polarized energy in the field, and that is the enemy. So you don't want to do that. So you got to understand how this works. But sometimes if your neighbor is coming right at you with a stick, or a gun or whatever, you need to be able to defend yourself. You are allowed to defend yourself, but you're not really allowed to get out ahead of defending yourself and preemptively go drop a bomb on somebody. I actually don't think that that is allowed. That Kwai Chang Caine would never do that. What would Kwai Chang Caine do? So I'll tell you what he would do. He had a perfect way about him. He was well versed in the Shaolin martial arts, and so he was so capable. Physically, he was capable. And when someone came at him, he wouldn't like punch somebody. It's not like that. He would raise his hand up and stop them, and that was all he was interested in doing. And to the extent that he had to go to stop them, that was all he was trying to do. He wasn't then trying to pummel them so they wouldn't get back up, or punish them or get out ahead of it and make sure that he would just stop them. And I don't know exactly how to accomplish that spirit, but that's the spirit we need to adopt as we deal with others who are dropping bombs. And how do you get to the place where you're just stopping, just raising your hand and blocking their move, but then not moving farther and saying, yeah, well, you swung a punch at me, so now that justifies me dropping a bomb on you. That is such an expression of a misunderstanding of who we are and how these energies work. So what is the future that I envision for us? So first of all, this is how the system operates. It depends on every individual getting in touch with their own true desire. The desire for that feeling that you're looking for, that feeling of connection, that feeling of love and belonging and security and abundance and safety. That feeling, that's what we're all looking for, that feeling of play, that feeling of confidence, that feeling of knowing that we are worthy and belong on this planet. That's what every one of us wants, is that feeling. Now, how do you get there based on where you are? Well, you have to practice moving in the direction of your source, for one thing. You have to practice feeling good. You have to practice the thoughts that when contemplating the world around you don't bring you to your knees as you look at how awful we are or how destructive we are or how mean we can be, because we certainly can be. I'm not going to deny any of that. We're as mean as can be, and we're as dark as can be. But we aren't really. That's not us actually being ourselves. That is us out of alignment, not being ourselves. And try thinking about the world that way, instead of being so quick to decide that there are good people and there are bad people and there is the devil and there's a source of darkness, and there really isn't. There really isn't. There is our connection to who we really are. And then there's what happens when we go into dark places without our inner being. When we go into places in our mind where our inner being is not shining light. What does that look like? Looks pretty terrible. It looks really terrible. It looks as terrible as it gets. It looks like North Korea. It looks like, the 6 million dead in gas chambers. It looks like 100 million dead last century. Is it 100 million? Is it 200 million? I'm not sure. When you get past 100 million, does it even matter? How many people dead last century because other people killed them in all the wars? Terrible. 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 And not just the wars, the internal stuff. How many people did Stalin kill? And was that a war? Do you call that a war? We're terrible. We're terrible. And don't all of this talk about how wonderful we are, because we really are. We are freaking spectacular in a universe so magically designed, in such perfection of reflection, such plasticity in its potential as far as, what we can be, do, and have. It's just breathtaking. And then at the same time, when we do not understand the power of this system and the power of the human being, then when you get a big old load of what we are capable of, sixth mass extinction on planet Earth, people, I don't want to, well, I do kind of want to mention that every day, because we are not going to get past that until we're past it. And I also believe that we're not actually past it until we're off of fossil fuels. And yes, are we incrementally moving towards that? Yeah, because everyone has an inner being, and they're all incrementally moving towards, the better. And so we're getting there. As a matter of fact, me being on the air is an expression of us getting there, because me being on the air is an expression of me having come across the information that I'm sharing with you, and I'm basically nobody. If I know about some of this stuff, then it is a way open secret, people. I am nobody. Well, I am somebody. And I have always prided myself. Actually, I've always been peaking at the leading edge of spirit. At least the leading edge of my own spirit, and what I thought was interesting. And I was on to Joseph Campbell when Power of Myth hit PBS in 1988, and boy, he sang to me. I've been on the leading edge. I jumped all over Deepak Chopra when Oprah pulled him out, and started reading his books, and that was kind of the leading edge. There was a leading edge. Back in the 80s, it wasn't common to ever use the C word, and I don't mean the dirty one. I mean consciousness. It was actually fairly avant-garde still. And there were a lot of things that you still spoke about in whispers, and I was all over that stuff. So I guess I'm not nobody, but in a way I'm nobody. I have it's not like yeah. If I know about this, then that means consciousness is rising. And it is. This is the time of awakening, people. We are awakening. We are awakening to who we really are and how this really works. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I as an individual? Who am I as a people? Where did I come from? Where are we going? Where are we going? I'll tell you what it looks like. Now, how we get there, I'm not sure. How when are we going to get there? Who's going to bring it? What's it going to look like? Those are questions I don't actually know the answer to, but I'll tell you what it's going to look like. Each and every one of us needs to get in touch with our own desires, because our desire is coming from our inner being who is trying to guide us. And how would they guide us? By saying, come this way, highlighting what you desire. Doesn't that make sense? That's exactly how the system works. And that's how, when we get to where we're going, it's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win, and everybody within the system gets exactly what they want, based on what their inner being knows to be true about the way it works and what's in place and the materiality of this moment, and what everybody else wants too, and how it all fits together. We can't organize that. There's too many moving parts. There is only one thing that can organize us, and that is the great organizing force, which is the center of the center of the center of all the spin. It knows where all the disks are moving. It knows where all the parts are moving. It knows how to bring them all together in the most harmonious dance, in the most beautiful, satisfying, harmonious, symphonic, creation. And we don't. When we operate strictly on laws by the book, as opposed to by the spirit, without a recognition of everyone being responsible for manning the center of their own equipment, then you get what we've got. You get what we've got. That's the answer to the problem. And so we've got to start beginning to develop a system that taps into each and every one of us as individual guidance system that is personally guiding that being to their best win-win-win-win. And if each and every one of us does that, then holy cow, we get to that place in society where, instead of bludgeoning each other into behaviors, we're all trying to inspire each other to our highest ideas, to see the better and better and better and more harmonic and more beautiful and more playful and more fun and more efficient that we can get upon this planet. And wouldn't that be great? But right now what's happening is, we're at a place in early development. Right now, everyone is being forced to capitalize. And one of the reasons that they're doing that is because one of the reasons that is happening is we are a single morphogenetic field. And humanity is producing goods and then distributing them amongst ourselves. And if you want to tap into that flow, you have to capitalize. And it's sort of all of us in this kind of clumsy way, echoing the fact that we are all connected. And we need to be connected. We need to be connected in consciousness. And that's kind of what's trying to make us do it. And the hardship that's going to be caused across the planet as all of the nations, like sometimes you have like these gorgeous, delightful little nations that owe their soul to the International Monetary Fund, for the capitalization that they get, and they're forced to do things with their ecosystems and their land and their general spaces, grow coffee or grow, mine the whatever, that isn't necessarily good for their local people, but they have to do it in order to get into the currency. And in doing so, they plug into the rest of all of us, which are doing the same thing and having the same problem. And now they become part of this question: who am I? What are we doing? Where are we going? Where is this going? You can see where it's going. It's going to planetary death. 6th mass extinction, people. Let's not forget about this. We really do need to get past this. And I believe, now that I understand more about the nature of source energy, and there's a lot of mathematicians and physicists over in this kind of alternative place. Yes, it's true. It is not the place where our national will is being put. Our national will is still over in the fossil fuel place, over in the military-industrial complex place, more in the still in the paradigm of I've got a hammer, so everything, all the problems look like a nail, bang, 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 that kind of mentality. That's where we are collectively, and we need to get better than that. We need to throw our collective will behind this new way to understand gravity and physics and source energy and the origin of mass and all of that, so that we can get off of fossil fuels, so we can pull our transportation systems off the surface of the planet, because we do not need to be coating this sacred earth in concrete and asphalt. We actually don't need to be doing that. We don't want to be doing that. Our future does not include that. Our future does not include that. 10 billion people trying to maneuver themselves on the surface of the planet on earthbound vehicles burning fossil fuels on roads made of concrete and asphalt is not going to happen, because we'll kill the planet by that time. If not by 10 billion, then by 12 billion. Or I don't know what the number is. Does it matter what the number is? We multiply faster and faster. We double our population faster and faster. It's going to happen. We're going to hit that breaking point. Why should we keep going? Why would we keep going? Well, we don't need to keep going. Not that direction anyway. There are other directions. And let's talk about this, the The steps of creation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to bring them in here right now because we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. That is the truth. And we have this inner being that is marking what we want and keeping track of it and looking at it and watching how all of the cooperative components to everything that we want, how they are all moving. How is it doing that? It's doing it in general because it's running on a frequency. A frequency, all that you want is over in the love, connection, knowing, universal consciousness, dancing with all of the rest of them, with all of the Almighty. It's all over there. That's the spirit it's in. The spirit that we're looking for is never that I'm all by myself and I control the world or whatever. That's not what you're looking for. That isn't what we want. We want to live on an abundant, thriving, biologically thriving planet, because do you know how much fun it is to go into a strange country, into an abundant ecosystem, and make contact with new beings and strange creatures and beautiful scenery and blessed. Oh, it's so much fun. Do you know how not fun it is to live on a planet where every other day people are informing you of how your every activity is anathema? I think that's what that means. The absolute death of everything that you love. You know, that we're only marking time, tick, 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 before we're all, and we take the planet with us. You know, and every day you realize that species are, winking out of extinction, out of existence, into extinction. Yeah, all of that. I don't want to live on a planet like that. I do not want to live on a planet like that. I'm tired of it. We don't need to. Also, in recognition of the nature of the quantum field in which we abide, actually, that's not the right words. We abide in the world, but we are made of this. Anyway, in light of the nature of this universe, we do not have to live this way. We do not have to live this way. And the only reason that we live this way is because the powers that be, and I don't really need to point fingers at any specifics, because it's all us. We are doing this. Now, you may, let's take somebody like Jeff Bezos, okay? And I'm not a Jeff Bezos expert in any way. I know of Jeff Bezos only in the most broad and general terms. I know that he owns Amazon, and that's actually in reference to that I bring him up. So you can look at him specifically, and you can look at the structure of Amazon specifically, and you can note a great deal of offness about the setup. Here's this one man, he has way too much power, he has way too much, and he's stomping his deal with the U.S. Post Office actually hurts quite a few smaller entrepreneurs trying to run mail order businesses over the internet. Not mail order, that dates me as being 100 years old. But an internet business where all of their customers have to pay kind of high rates of postage, and Jeff Bezos gets away with most of the stuff that he sends out via Amazon. All the things I buy come under Prime delivery. I pay one fee for the year, and then, but I'll tell you the good stuff about it. In general, I love the Accio-Magic aspect of this, and I actually think that the world that we're looking for is going to have a wonderful system of goods and services distribution across all the scales. So small entrepreneurs can produce goods and put them out on this distribution system that then So I love the way that with Amazon you can go look at something, find it, have a desire within yourself, go find some sort of a match, twinkle your nose, point your wand, summon it this way, and within sometimes a day, you can do it within hours if you're willing to pay the extra. But within hardly any time at all, whatever you have asked for is sitting on your doorstep. And it's like, wonderful. This is wonderful. The spirit of that, let's hold on to that. Now, is what's going on right now in alignment with our inner being and the functioning of the harmonic functioning of all of the planet and the ecosystem and all of the biological needs of all the beings and blah blah blah? Is it that? No, it isn't. And why isn't it? Because it is not made up of all of the components following their own desires. There's lots and lots of people along the chain of this, what we have built, that are not following their desires, and so they themselves are out of alignment, and so the entire system is out of alignment, and so it's destructively creating and distributing, as opposed to it could be in harmonics every step of the way. But what you have to do with it likely wouldn't be all about Jeff Bezos at that point. It would be a collective thing, and we would all be understanding our part in it, and we would be joining it or not joining it as our heart impulses us to do. That's what it would look like. I know this is where we are going. We will all be free when we get to this place. Each and every one of us will be physically free. Right now, we are all free. We are all free to offer whatever vibrational offering that we wish unto the universe. That is what we are free to do. We are free to feel and think whatever we want. That's the only thing we're free to do. But quite frankly, when you understand the power of thinking, thought, and emotion, the absolutely mind-blowing power of thought and emotion, along with focus and attention and tapping into the centers of your being as they lock into the data fields of information flowing all around you, you realize that that's all the power you ever need, because the universe is responding to your vibrational offering. It's responding in a number of ways. It's bringing you cooperative components to your desires. That's one way that it is responding. It is also tuning you into frequencies that are allowing you better ideas. So as you have your thoughts, and those thoughts produce emotions, that is the equivalent of tuning in your radio dial. Now you've tuned into the greater field, and you're getting better ideas. As a matter of fact, if you go deep enough and tune in, all of the information is available from wherever you are. Even if you're in prison, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you are. It's non-locally everywhere. Remember? The information of the Almighty is coming in across the black hole proton structure of all of your the black hole protons of all your atomic structure. The allness channel is coming through across that. Every one of your protons is reflecting in its Planck field all of the protons of all of the universe. And if you don't remember that part of the program, it's actually, I'll show you where it is. Is it this one? No, it's not that one. It's this one. This is showing the relationship of all of the Plancks in every one of your protons and all of the mass of all of the universe. And if you look at that little figure on the left there, can you see how that is the beginning of the Kabbalistic tree of life? Look at that. No wonder. Sacred geometry, there's a reason sacred geometry is sacred. Because there is a mathematics to the structure of space-time. There is a mathematics to the structure of the emergence of matter and the nature of gravity. And the mathematics have been done. And this is humanity's roadmap out of the wilderness. Like I say every morning, who am I? Who am I? Where are we going? What are we about? How am I designed? How do I operate my own machinery? How do I make my own dreams come true? How do I find my own happily ever after? Well, the short answer is get into alignment and follow the guidance that you get from that position. From where out of alignment, don't try to guess what you're going to do. Well, I'm going to get into alignment, and then I'm going to get up out of my chair, and I'm going to go run this set of errands, and then I'm going to go get this job, and then I'm going to marry that person, and then I'm going to... And don't make your plans from this side of alignment. Know that, whatever the impulses you get from being in alignment are going to be different from the impulses that I get to act and think from the other side. The two sides you got a different perspective. So don't pre-plan your day until you've gotten to the other side of alignment. And then from that position, inspire your way into, well, what do I want to do? 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 What do I want? What do I want? And the fact is there is somewhere in there, what do I want? There is something that you can have. There's absolutely a lot of things that you can have. And you can actually have anything that you want. You just need to get really clear about what it is that you want. When you're not clear about what you want, then you have part of you saying, I want this, and another part of you contradicting it, crossing your own energy stream, laying down those negative trains, going the opposite direction, holding you in place in the station. That's kind of what's happening in our political environment. The two, we're locked in contradiction to ourselves. We are not in clarity. We do not have a clear desire about what we want. And so what's going to happen is we're either going to stay in eternal stalemate, or something's going to give. And what might give is the anger on the one side pushing through and getting their way anyway. And then the way the pattern goes from there is it all goes completely to hell. Much destruction is incurred. And then on the other side of that, we have to rebuild in some way. And we pick up on the other side with some greater understanding. We always have on the other side of every war or every, kerfuffle. There have been things that come out of it that we like and other things that we don't like so much. Women got the vote, and women are now in the workplace like they were just champing at the bit to be. And now there's a lot of women who would like to get the hell out of the workplace and back into a harmonious, loving, domestic relationship, but don't know how to find the man, the right man. The right man. I'm not talking about the wrong man. I'm talking about the right one. The one that values you for who you are. Who allows you your autonomy and your freedom and your grace and would let you go to work if you wanted to. It's not like, it's whatever you want, honey. And it's all about love, and it's all about us being a mutual team, and we love the kids, and we want to be a family because being a family is fun. All of that kind of stuff. That's the right man if you happen to be a woman who is working. Or what I'm saying is it's all about choices, and it's all about, and as we move forward in some ways, there are other things that maybe, so what women didn't like back before we were in the workplace is we didn't like not being allowed in the workplace. We didn't like being forced to be wherever it was that, being in the home and being master of all of the feminine arts is really in itself not a terrible thing. It's just when every single woman, no matter who you are and no matter what your nature is being forced to pick up that role because she's a woman, because it implies us not understanding who we are and not understanding how the energies work, and it implies all of that. And it disallows the expansion and evolution of who we are and things getting better. We're locked into that place, and so now we've busted out of that. Isn't that great? Yay, yay, yay. But now what about the woman who wants to have, because not every family situation was bad. There were times when a woman was absolutely with a loving, kind man who, it was the system that was the problem. I'm rambling now, I'm sorry about that. The point is as we move forward and some things get better, it highlights other things that need to move too, and then we might move away from something, that idea of women shouldn't be forced to be in the home. And they shouldn't be forced to be in the home. But now they shouldn't be forced to be in the workplace either. If you have a loving, kind, imaginative woman who wants to raise children and play with a darling man, how does she find him? How does she find one whose head is where her head is, whose heart is, open and expansive, and what all those things that we want in our. How do you do that? How do you go back? But you don't want to go back, and you can't go back either, so. But I digress. Totally digress. Who are we? Where are we going? Where are we going as humanity? What do our systems look like 50 years from now? Because I promise you, they don't look like what they look right now, because what we're doing right now is not sustainable. And literally, when something isn't sustainable, we're not going to sustain it. No matter how much we delude ourselves about that sustaining. So what do they look like 50 years from now, 100 years from now? Are we living on a dead, dark planet? A lot of our apocalyptic, futuristic movie models show that. The post-apocalyptic world. What does that look like? Well, it doesn't have to be as bad as that. The post-World War II world was actually really cool. In some ways, it was busier and louder and faster than it was before. And if you were part of that agrarian, rural, sleepy lifestyle, you can feel part of what was lost there. Go watch All Creatures Great and Small. That sort of that moment when we went from that pre-World War II to post-World War II. You can see the spirit of the difference there. The one before was slower, was in some ways more connected to nature. And in that sense, that's a problem. The people that we became post-World War II was faster, more jet-setty, more moving about the world, more cosmopolitan, if you will, but more disconnected from that agrarian natural rhythm. So this is why we have come to the place that we've come. We still don't know who we are. We are this natural rhythm. We need to get more in touch with our biological nature, who we are as a biofield, what the biome is as a single morphogenetic field upon the surface of the planet. And we are part of that too. So we need to get more in touch with that. But the things that we know now about ourselves and about the universe, the way we like to play, the way we like to move around the world, it is not okay that we all stayed on a farm. How can you keep them down on the farm now that they've seen Paris? That sort of idea. We are we are the whole being. We are the whole being. We are the farm. We are the city. We are the war. We are the peace. We are the dictator. We are the followers. We are, it's all us. And we need to see it as a oneness, because it is a oneness. It's acting like a oneness. It is operating as a oneness. Your neighbor is your unknown self made visible. And so it's time that we understood it that way. And I believe that ultimately this understanding is going to bring us to everything we want. Peace on earth, goodwill towards men, that Accio magic for all beings across the planet, some sort of system of goods production that we're all producing. We're all producing through our imagination and through our desires. We are producing things all over the planet, producing food and producing entertainments. We're producing shows and B&Bs and what I'm imagining is us all flitting around the planet, visiting one another and experiencing the things that each other has created for us to play with. You know, the movies that we create, and we're getting ready to go on a big trip. We're going to New Zealand. We're going to Fiji and New Zealand. And what these people have, they have this wonderful thing that's so wonderful that people will come and visit it in order to play. And then when you get there, specifically, you have all these specific people who are taking you out on their wonderful sailboat, or they have created this wonderful movie set, you know, where they made these wonderful movies, and now the set itself is this wonderful place to come visit, and all the people who are fans of the Shire, whether they loved the movies or whether they just loved the books, now they come to the Shire to visit this wonderful place. And or they have we're going to be doing kayaking up to glowworm caves, you know. And so the people who live in the area where these glowworms live, they have created this experience where they have kayaks, and they've figured out how to, you know, drive you to a particular location, and then you get into your kayaks and and so you have these tour companies, and we're going to we're going sailing on a small yacht through the Bay of Islands, you know, sailing for the day. And we're doing a zip line adventure near Rotorua. We're doing all of these things. And it's these people where we're going, looking at the world around them and all the fun things to do and the marvelous things to see, and they're hosting visitors from other places who want to come and see it and do it. And we could do that all over this damn planet. This is what people want to do. They want to taste each other's food. They want to, you know, live in each other's houses for a day. You know, we're staying in some hotels and in some Airbnbs, you know. It's fun. It's fun to do that. And once we get our transportation systems up off the surface of the planet more, once we are, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start running our land-based vehicles on something other than fossil fuels. As a matter of fact, if you look at that movie that I like to mention it every episode in case you are not a regular listener. The movie, the Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. I believe that there is reference to some guy in there who had cars running on water at one point. So if you can do that, if you can run an automobile on water, then the first way to get off of freaking fossil fuels is get all the cars running on water. You know, let's pull that one up out of mothballs. Let's investigate. How would you make that transition? How would you adjust I'm sure there would be some sort of you would have to change the engine somewhat. I don't know how that worked. How about the other guy who had something that increased the fuel efficiency by some tens of percentage. We could start with that one. We could start with that one. The reason that the powers that be don't want to do that, and you can understand, I can understand this, and yet, no, because this is humanity. We are talking the energy source of humanity. We're not just talking your pipeline to all the goodies. I can understand why you would want that, because playing with billion-dollar yachts is fun. Owning private islands is fun. Flying your Learjet all over the place is fun. But I want to get to that kind of wonderfulness for all of us, that sort of biological abundance that exists all over the planet, so you don't have to just go to that private island to have that sensation of natural abundance, and all of us can have that. And how about let's conquer gravity so that then we can all flit around the planet as we like. Because that's fun, and I don't really blame you for wanting to do that. You who own all the oil. I see a bigger picture, and that bigger picture includes us all. And frankly, you include all of us, even though you don't realize it. Who am I? Who am I, and where are we going as humanity? Am I going to answer today the question of where did we come from? So, I don't know. I don't know whether I should. What is my program? Is it incessantly trying to discuss the same presentation? I think we're genetically modified. I think that is part of the explanation of who we are, of why we don't fit on this planet, and why we need to do it on purpose, because once our psyches have been damaged, we're now out of alignment unless we put ourselves back into alignment. And out of alignment, we are very destructive. We are very destructive creatures. And quite frankly, I think our psyches are pretty fragile. It doesn't take much to harm the psyche of a human child. However, I do believe that a broader perspective understanding of who we are fixes it. And us collectively understanding who we are would start collectively fixing it more quickly, because we would be less quick to punish each other. We can't punish each other into better behavior. We can, in a Kwai Chang kind of way, stop each other from bad behavior. So, if you have to be isolated from the group, fine. Then we will isolate you from the group. But the whole intention is you are lovingly part of the whole, and we need to re-educate you back into the group, not punish you forevermore for your bad deeds. The spirit should be more how they treat wrongdoers in Norway. Go watch the movie Who to Invade Next. There's some very interesting information about the wonderful things that some other countries are doing. Now, if you look at it comparatively to the United States, you can be pretty horrified and aghast at what we have allowed ourselves to be collectively. But if you just look at it from the spirit of, oh man, that's a really good idea. Look at how they're treating people. Let's do that. Then it's okay. They treat their prisoners like human beings, and there is there's a limit to how long you can keep them in jail. Jail can't be an infinite sentence. You have to figure out how to rehabilitate them, because they're coming back to society in 20 years, no matter what they did. And when you make that kind of a mandate, that means that for the 20 years that you have them, you better be making them, you better be whipping them back into harmonious shape, assisting them to their own alignment. That's what you need to be doing, because we are all harmonious in our own alignment. Because remember, our inner being sees a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win world. Your inner being never sees a a world in competition. It's not a zero-sum game. And your inner being knows it. Your inner being knows what's real. So this is your mind. This is your mind setup, blah, blah, blah. Your neocortex level layer, which is that layer which makes you human. 76% of this comes from human chromosome number 2, and human chromosome number 2 is a fused chromosome. It is a modified chromosome, in my opinion, because I believe the odds of... Greg Braden orally speaks of the odds against this being a natural thing. It's pretty high that this fusion happened accidentally. It certainly is not it's not the product of incremental, natural, or random Darwinian evolutionary processes. It's not that. These two chromosomes were fused together. They were fused together, telomere to telomere, and this is the scientific journal reference to the study that some geneticists did back in 1991 and published, saying, well, we've looked at this gene and this chromosome, and this is what we think we're looking at. It's the relic of an ancient telomere-to-telomere fusion and marks the point at which two ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. I mean, so you can argue with that. You can argue with my saying that I think that we're genetically modified. It would have happened about 200,000 years ago when anatomically modern humans appeared on the planet. We used to call this Cro-Magnon man. We don't we don't use that term anymore, probably because it's too damn hard to pronounce. So we haven't looked at this yet today either. Your emotional guidance scale is your emotional read on how in alignment or not in alignment you are with your inner being. And spoiler alert, your inner being is only in the positive. And so if you are not in a positive emotion, you are not in alignment with your inner being. It's just as simple as that. So you need to be happy in order to be in alignment with your inner being, who is always happy no matter what's going on. And no wonder your inner being can be happy, because it knows that you are made of the quantum field. And it knows that you are one with everything. And it knows that you can be, do, or have anything you want. You just need to get into alignment with what you want. And everything is evolving in that direction. And your inner being knows that. And so, of course, it's completely content. It knows that it's all right no matter if the volcano erupts, or if the sun goes nova. It does not matter. You are the quantum field. You are one with the allness of all of the universe. You are one with the morphogenetic field of the entire universe. So if your local thing goes kabunk, the local specific that you are focused in on goes kablooey, you are still one with the morphogenetic field of the entire universe. And in that, there is still order. There is still order. There is still belonging. There is still all of that, because there is an Almighty. The Almighty existeth. That is perhaps the final point of my thesis. The Almighty is a thing. And the awareness, the consciousness of the allness is a thing. Here's the emotional guidance scale showing momentum of negative emotion and momentum of positive emotion. And if you're in a state of negative emotion, the idea is to reach upward. And at each level, you just kind of talk yourself up the scale. Reaching from here's another way to look at it. Reaching from your general state of negative emotion, talk your way up into you're in a specific place of negative emotion, talk your way up into a general state, and then from there pivot to a general positive, and then from there now find something positive from there that you believe, and start that momentum going and hold the positive. Because what you're actually doing is you're creating a little strength of a little vortex of positive momentum. I haven't showed this picture. This is your two sides, your source energy side and your specific mind self side. And they are both spinning they're both spinning points of attraction, and you're trying to get a positive momentum going. The way you do that is quit interjecting those little negative ones, the pros and the cons, and the pluses and the minuses, and this and the that. I like it, but I don't like. I like this, but I don't like that. I like this, and I don't like that. And this is good, and that's bad. It's not allowing you to get any positive momentum going. Momentum is really a thing, and it will carry you if you will allow some to get going without immediately doubting it or immediately contradicting it, crossing your own energy stream. That's how you get a positive momentum. And what you're actually doing is you're building a positive spin, a storm of coherence, if you will. And this serves as a force field that shields you from the little storms of chaos that are going, the storms large and small and large, that are going to come spinning through your direction. The stronger your positive momentum that you've got going, the stronger a storm of chaos that you can withstand that won't suck you into it. That's kind of the idea. And somewhere along the line, I want to start discussing what a concept that I call it divine autonomy. And I've mentioned it before in these last 10 days, or however long it's been that I've been posting to this channel. But divine autonomy has to do with the power that you have when you man your own center, when you get into the center of your center, and you're not cueing from the outside anymore. You're cueing from the inside and how it feels. And you're in alignment with your greater inner being, your source energy aspect, as you do it. You achieve a kind of safety. It weaves around you a force field of a positive energy force field that it becomes harder for wickedness, evil, step one, contrast, the true contrast that you really don't want, from getting to you. So say you're afraid of theft. You don't want to be robbed. You don't want your house to be home invaded. You don't want your child to be molested. You don't want... There's all these things that you don't want, right? How do you keep yourself safe from those things? Well, it is true that if you are in awareness of reality, how reality actually goes down and who you actually are, if from that position you begin to weave a positive momentum, that positive momentum, that thing that you are consciously building for yourself, that trajectory aligned with your inner being that's going to lead you to something, to some action or life activity that is going to be pleasing to you. As you do that, the very act of doing that starts weaving threads of a positive momentum that surround you, and it acts as a force field. And now, casual negative can't get to you, depending on how strongly you have woven your defense mechanism. And what is this defense mechanism? It's no defense at all. It's focusing on the positive, and focusing only on the positive, and building your positive momentum towards the actions that you, and just keeping that positive in the center of your aperture is part of the force field of positive energy that will surround you. Divine autonomy refers to this divine nature of your individuation and the powers that you possess to order your own life, to ensure your own safety, or to encourage safety around yourself. I don't know if there's any absolute safety. As long as you're in flesh, there is no absolute safety. By the way, people, flesh is vulnerable. We are made of meat. Do you know what can happen to meat? So as long as you are in this body of meat, in that sense, the meat aspect of you is not safe. However, this configuration recognition will help you to understand that that's not most of who you are. Most of who you actually are is this quantum field, and you can't hurt the quantum field. The field can morph into any shape that pleases it to be. You can't hurt it. You are the source energy, and source energy is inviolate. You know, all things spring from this, one stage of which we're all part. And go, in meditation, when you go into the center of the center of the center of your being, you now have a greater sense of what you might be doing when you do that. You're clicking into the morphogenetic fields of the greater universe around you. So it's like, this is something I like to say every day. A reminder of how this inner and outer reflection aspect works. When you integrate yourself as a biological being, you connect with the morphogenetic field of the planet. When you integrate yourself at the atomic level, you connect with the solar system. At the level of the proton, you integrate with the galaxy, and when you get all the way down to the Planck, you integrate with the universe. And so that's you clicking into, and as you click into these morphogenetic fields, if you are really dialed into them, you are now in harmonic resonance with them, and all of your impulses are beneficial to you and all the field. You now, if you truly are in alignment with that field, your impulses are going to be beneficial to that field, not unsustainable, not destructive, which is what we're doing now. And so it's so obvious. It's so obvious to recognize that the problem that we experience here on planet Earth is not a problem of human beings not being worthy, human beings not being good. There's good people and there's bad people. Well, there isn't good people and bad people. There are people out of alignment with who they are. And then there's people who are in alignment with who they are. The ones who are in alignment with who they are much more pleasant. They're peaceful. They're playful. They're expansive. They're delightful. You love dancing with those people. The people who are out of alignment with who they are, those are the ones that need our help. The ornery ones, the awful ones, the mean, nasty, destructive ones, those are the ones that need our help. And the odd thing is they are the ones who are not going to want our help. But actually, forget what I just said. Because everyone is ready for what they are ready for. And everyone's inner being is trying to guide them to what they are ready for. And they are doing that. They are doing that. We could just help it all along a little bit by understanding who we are. So, let's see. To end the presentation, because, that's not what I wanted to do. I have to mention this every day, the 5 classes of the philosophy and how they relate. This is what Buddhists believe are the root causes of all suffering. And isn't this interesting? How it relates to the discussion that we have every morning about who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Cymatics. This is the study of the relationship between vibration and form. Why would I bring this up? Because I'm postulating, well, actually, it's not even a question. We do live in a vibrational universe. This universe is vibrational. And you are a vibrational being within this vibrational universe. But this is kind of a visual aid that helps you understand how that could be. This is some cymatic patterns, both in nature and on the metal plate with the granular medium and a vibration pipe through and the different forms, the different designs that appear because of the changed vibration. I always bring this up because it helps us to understand where we are. We are in between patterns right now. It's why it looks a little bit chaotic. Find in your heart and in your mind and in your soul, in your universal consciousness aspect, go find where you belong in the new pattern that is becoming, and you will be a lot less anxious. A lot of anxiety is happening because people are clinging to the old forms that are not sustainable and not being sustained, and they're falling away. They're falling away. It's becoming harder and harder to make your living at the mall, for instance. If you want to be making a living at the mall, perhaps we need to reimagine malls. But that one vendor who has always paid their mortgage with that shop at the mall is absolutely getting very anxious because nobody comes to the mall anymore. How about the guy who depends on being shopping mall Santa every year? He's getting nervous. I went to the mall, our local mall, several times this last Christmas season, and I never saw... once I saw one parent with their child, with their baby, wanting to take a picture with, so they were going to do the Santa Mall thing. But it's not a thing anymore. That's an old form that's falling away. There are new things that are coming into being that maybe you need to hone in on those things that are coming into being, the pattern that is coming into being as opposed to the one that is falling away. Your future will be a lot more, how do you do that? How do you do that? Well, just get into alignment with your inner being, because your inner being is absolutely in touch with what is now and what is becoming, and it is not looking back at the forms behind us. It is looking at where you're going. It's looking at what you want. It is focusing on what you want. And if you would do the same thing, focus on what you want. Figure out how to get there. Adjust those wants as reality unfolds to you. As you come to realizations about, what reality actually is, and then now adjust your ideas about what you really want, we can all find our way to our happily ever after. But if you will do it, you'll find your way to your happily ever after, and that should be good enough for you. Collectively, we will all find our way there one at a time. We have to do it through divine autonomy. There is no way to force the outside into compliance, and it's a good thing. You don't really want to. You can only inspire. You can inspire from within. You can show as an example of your own life, for instance, or how you, whatever you are doing to follow the impulses of your inner being. What is she guiding you to do? Where is your fun? Where is your happiness? Where is your belief about your desire? Because that belief, the belief is your specific self. Your desire is that general wick of your inner being, that light, that flame of what you want. And your inner being is only paying attention to what you want, marking what you want every step of the way, and then knowing where it all is, and how to guide you to its new iteration. That's the meaning of following your inner being. That's why it's important to think about that your inner being is looking at what you want. What are you looking at? Because whatever you're looking at, that's where you're going. If you're not looking at where you want, if you're not looking at what you want, then you're going somewhere else. Spoiler alert. So, anyway, I'm not going to tell the story today. I think I'm going to end early, but I am going to end with slides that I didn't do today. Well, there's a lot of slides that I didn't do today. I didn't do any of the mathematical slides. The ones from except for that one that showed the matter. I showed that. I didn't show any of the other ones. I do like that. This one showing how a quantum oscillator comes across the event horizon, the 0-point energy field, as a particle, virtual or, whatever. As it comes across as a particle, it's spinning. Spin is baked into the case. And I believe that understanding, that mathematical understanding of that fundamental aspect of it is going to lead us to these beautiful things. This is going to lead us to gravity control, being able to lift our transportation systems off of the surface of the planet. And then we do not have to coat the planet in asphalt and concrete, and we can regarden it. And then when we can draw our energy directly from source energy, clean and free, with small devices that provide large amounts of power, we can rebloom the desert. We can desalinate as much ocean water as we want to rebloom the desert, make the desert shrink, make the oases grow. We can repopulate this planet with biological diversity. And we can play upon it in our tens of billions, as long as we do it in alignment with the biofield of the planet itself, and we draw our energy sources from harmonic places. We don't. That's the meaning of our carbon footprint, and how we are poisoning this planet has to do with fossil fuels. That is the heart of my thinking. And now I'm going to do this because I don't know why. Just in case anybody watching this ever wants to see all this, I do not have to say anything about them. Now I'm also going to tell you, go look at the 37-minute program on YouTube. You can probably find it by YouTubing the words origin of mass and nature of gravity. And then if you have to put Nassim Harameini's name or the ISS, International Space Federation, the paper is over on zenodo.org, and the explanation of the paper is on YouTube. I got sent to it. It was sent to me by email because I'm a member of the International Space Federation. But that brings me to the end of my